Welcome back to Tunjitalks, the home of I Have a First. Right, so I just watched the new Lord of the Rings trailer for the TV show Lord of the Rings, The Power of the Rings. Um, yeah, so the trailer, it didn't make total sense to me. However, the first part did. So at the first part, we see this woman and her brother's died, and she takes her brother's dagger, and that symbolizes that she's going to carry on her brother's legacy. Then I watched the rest of the trailer and I was waiting for the story. Like, what's the story here? I couldn't quite tell what the story was. I could tell that there were different tribes and something's happening, but I wasn't sure what exactly was happening. I'm not well versed in the Lord of the Rings universe. If we're talking Star Wars, if we're talking the MCU, we're talking DC movies. Yes, of course, yeah, I get that. But Lord of the Rings, that's not my area of expertise. Um, so I wonder if someone who's well versed in the Lord of the Rings universe, if the trailer made like total sense for them. Um, let's so the trailer. The thing I have to compare it to right now is the House of Dragon, which of course the first episode just came out over the weekend. Uh, and if I'm to compare it right now, I would say the Lord of the Rings series. It looks more stunning than the House of the Dragon series. But when we're talking House of the Dragon, when we're talking Game of Thrones, that show it's more gritty, it's dirty. You see, the show really explores the underbelly of that world. So maybe that's why that show looks a bit more gritty as opposed to the Lord of the Rings show, which I guess one would classify as high fantasy. Um, so let's talk about we have a fantasy kind of like bubble at the second, and how did that come about? So this all came about when Game of Thrones was on, when it was on HBO. Same with House of Dragon. And when TV networks saw that Game of the Thrones was hugely popular, the heads of TV networks went to the heads of the development and said, "We need a top fantasy IP now, as in right now." Why? Because all the networks wanted to capitalize on this momentum. They wanted to capitalize on this wave of fantasy. And as we can see over the last couple of years, a lot of fantasy shows have been coming out. So Netflix has The Witcher. Um, Amazon also has The Wheel of Time, which is a good show. I'll give it like a 7.5 out of 10, but I think that show needs time. I think with seasons 2 and 3, and as the show continues to build, The Wheel of Time will be a big show, really big show. And of course, Amazon got involved with the Lord of the Rings, and Amazon paid $1 billion to get the rights for the Lord of the Rings. So, do you know how much a billion is? This tells me that Amazon really believes in the Lord of the Rings property, and they think this show is going to be a hit, and I'm sure there's going to be spin-off shows as well because they want to make the most of that $1 billion. Right. Um, what else? So it was also reported recently that the showrunners of the new Lord of the Rings show, that they've planned out like the entire series, so season 2 and 3 and so on. Let's talk about Star Wars quickly. With the most recent trilogy, 7, 8, and 9, when they started filming on episode 7, they hadn't planned out 8 and 9, and as you can see, because they didn't plan it out, it didn't totally make sense, and that's divided the Star Wars universe. But enough of that. Let's talk about The Witcher. So I'm not a big fan of The Witcher. Like, I watched season 1, wasn't didn't like season 1, didn't like season 1. However, there's a spin-off, a Witcher spin-off that's coming really soon. And for me, there's only been one trailer, and for me, the new spin-off of The Witcher, that looks better. That looks more promising to me than the actual Witcher show. I guess the proof will be in the pudding when the show comes out, and we'll see. Hopefully, it's good. It looks really good, the spin-off of the Witcher. Let me know your thoughts down below. Do you like The Witcher? Um, what else? So yeah, so right now it's going to be the war of the best fantasy show. So the House of the Dragon versus Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power. Um, let's talk about the House of the Dragon quickly. So I really liked the House of the Dragon. It felt familiar being back in the Game of Thrones sort of universe. The families, you know, we had the Baratheons were mentioned, the Starks were mentioned. I didn't hear any mentions of the Lannisters. If the Lannisters are mentioned in episode one, maybe I missed that. Leave the timestamp down below and I'll go back and check that. But I didn't recall hearing anything about the Lannisters in episode one. Yeah, I liked exploring the Targaryen family, and of course, we're there for dragons, all good stuff. Oh, ooh, let's talk about okay, Matt Smith. I really like his sinister streak in episode one, and I'm sure over the series that's just gonna continue and expand. Good stuff. So all in all, if you haven't checked out House of Dragon, please do. I know some people felt burnt by season 8 of Game of Thrones, especially the last episode. But check out House of the Dragon. It's a really great show. So let's talk about the theme tune. So what they've done is they've taken the original Game of Thrones theme tune and they've kind of added like a remix onto the theme tune. So I guess they're saying with that, like, yes, this show has its own identity, but you know we're in the Game of Thrones universe, so it'll be really interesting to see with future spin-offs, because they've got future spin-offs in development, if they'll continue this trend, if they'll still use the original Game of Thrones theme song, and for each new spin-off they'll add like a little remix onto it. So that was really interesting, and I saw a lot of people commenting on that online. Ooh, and let's talk about like the show's identity. They use like different camera shots that I hadn't seen before in Game of Thrones. So that was just telling you, yes, this is familiar territory. However, we're going to explore these families that you're used to in a different kind of way. So that was really interesting. So let me know your thoughts down below. We are in the middle of a streaming war. Oh, Game of Thrones, it was announced that House of the Dragon was HBO's biggest ever premiere. So, you know, the streaming wars are on. Of course, HBO is still a traditional network. So, you know, the traditional networks are saying to the streaming services, hey, it's a competition, it's a war. So, you know, you guys duke it out, but original TV, we're still here. So let me know your thoughts down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you soon.